And welcome to the program. Thanks for joining us. We survived another weekend, and we haven't lost our jobs yet. This is Weather and Ag in Focus, and yet is the key word. We got a lot of week left to see how that goes, and a lot of fun things going on this week in terms of where we're going to be at and who's going to be on the show. And the biggest thing, I'd suppose, Dean, Bridgette, you guys are heading down to Baltic, South Dakota Wednesday and Thursday. What's going on down in Baltic, and why are you guys going down there?
So Hefty Seed Company out of Baltic, South Dakota, they have a number of stores all around the Dakotas, Minnesota, as far west as Washington State, as far east as Ohio. And they have a one-day event. This will be the third year we here from Weather and Ag in Focus have attended and done a live show there. Mm-hmm. This one-day event is roughly 9,000 people on a field. Literally in the field, because I remember the first year we were planning for this and folks kept asking me about, well, what will we have for power and internet? And I said, we're in a field, you guys, like literally standing on dirt. But the map of the place is massive. There'll be a lot of things going on there, and we'll be doing our live show. Dean and I are talking about the LRC at 7:40 a.m. Join us at the Morton Center for that. And additionally, I think I have 2 other panels to do that to moderate that day. We've got a lot happening. It's gonna be a great day.
It's gonna be a busy day. It's a fun time down there.
How many people?
Baltic.
10,000?
They always say 10,000. I don't want to burst anybody's bubble, but I think that includes all the vendors and so forth. So I liken it more in that 8,000-9,000.
That's still
range.
a good crowd.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they make it a great show, right? They have an air show after the national anthem in the morning. There's live demos that you can take part in. So if you wanted to drive that tractor, you could. This year we are in a different spot. We are on the far east end next to Fent and Hefty Naturals, which is their biological product lineup.
Cool.
Yeah. So that big black big black combine will be there, Justin.
Cool.
It'll look great.
Cool. Is that
Yes.
an air show too that they got going on?
They
down
do.
there?
They have the Vanguard Air Squadron, which I'm not sure where they're based out of, but I kind of want to say they're somewhere in South Dakota.
Probably South Dakota.
Yeah, and they'll be flying overhead. We're doing a mini air show that morning.
Speaking of air shows, there's an air show here in Fargo
This weekend. There is.
Fun. Are you planning on attending?
I have a few other things going on over the weekend, but I bet we will probably start to see the Blue Angels practice midweek right out our windows.
Are you going?
I will be out of state.
Dean, are you going to be getting out of an airplane this week?
Are you jumping in an airplane?
I'm jumping out of an airplane this afternoon.
Well, how do you get in it?
How do I get in
I
it?
asked if you're getting in an airplane.
Oh.
You said you're just jumping out of
No,
one.
I'm just jumping out of one.
So how do you get in it to jump out of? God, you love me, don't you?
Oh, man, I'm telling you. Now, what he did say nobody has lost their job yet, right? Is that what he said over the
Yet.
week?
It's only Monday.
So far.
Yes.
But
Over the weekend, we didn't.
Keep it up.
Justin and I voted, though, and we said versus jumping out of a plane to skydive, we would have chosen to ask if we could fly with one of the Blue Angels.
Yes.
I would
How
have
much
That would be fun.
would
I'm
it be
not
to-
saying, but man, I can't see throwing up on 2 or 3 Gs.
I had a mainlined Dramamine for 3 days to do this.
That's part of the thing. Yeah, I threw up in a
Angels.
multi-million-dollar fighter jet. And imagine being in an F-16.
It would be
How
cool.
many people have been inside of one of those?
Not many.
Yet alone just the experience of flying in
Right.
one. Wow. God, that'd be cool.
You
What
ever
was
been-
it from
have
Fargo?
you ever been
to-
up in a stunt plane? I mean,
like
that's
an
more than
airplane?
yeah, like the Red Bear. I was up with Red Baron before, the stunt airplanes.
No, I'm not that far into my
Almost-
career where I'd be asked to be in those.
Almost got sick in that. So that's what I can only imagine that if I was up in the Blue Angels, what would happen with that?
Imagine just I don't know. I mean, it's so much. It'd be such a fun experience.
be.
Shooting. What that Bill, our friend who's going to be joining me on Friday, said what, from Fargo to Devil's Lake in 10 minutes.
Yep. Yeah, so just prior to
And
coming
it can
on
go
air,
a lot faster than that too.
Yeah.
So with all the things going on this week, I have to be gone Friday, and so does Dean. You'll be recovering from your jumping out of an airplane, I'm sure. And so
we'll see if he reaches the ground safely first.
we have a guest host for me, and that will be retired Amenia, North Dakota farmer Bill Hale. Bill has a background in sugar beets, corn, soybeans. He's on the Economic Development Committee for Castleton. He's got some connections with the crush plant out there. And additionally, he is retired Air Force. So there's going to be a lot of things for you guys to talk about.
We got all sorts of fun things planned.
It won't be shy. Just remember, though, Dean, before you go get in that plane today, I know how much you enjoy North Dakota Sweet Crude. You might not want to have
Don't
any
have any
before you
before
Go
go.
you
have
go,
your last
yeah.
drink, bud.
Maybe
Dean falling.
Maybe.
Dean falling out of the airplane.
So
Wow.
that Sweet Crude is a North Dakota made liqueur. It makes you feel better. They even have an orange version for just a little extra spice. You can feel free to taste test some after you get back on air and kiss the ground. If you want to do that, they'll be doing taste testing July 25th in Perham. And they have all sorts of extra recipes at crudespirits.com. You can find a ton of information on their website. Dean, of course, is going to wait till later in the day to
We'll have a
imbibe.
Sweet Crude Spirit after we
I
land.
think that's a great idea. Oh, goodness. And
Best of luck, Dean.
Man, boy, you guys are really just, go get them. All right.
this is why we are usually not all three in the office at one time. And that is an excellent prelude to our guest today, who's joining us in studio, shaking his head, thinking, I can't believe I signed up for this.
Right.
That is
Or, man, these guys are funny.
Nobody thinks we're
Nobody
funny.
would thinks we're
No, you're
funny.
pushing it now.
Our guest today is Chris Sherman. He is with Tech Support Farm. We've had Chris on before because he is fascinating to talk about all the things that happen when it comes to cyber world, farm technicalities, technical information, and so much more. We've got lots to visit about. I'm a little jealous. We're going to see Chris this month, and then we're going to see him again next month after he goes to an FBI conference on cybersecurity on farm. And it's down in Omaha. I would love to go, but Chris is going to be my eyes and ears. So thank you for going.
Absolutely.
I'm so excited to hear about all of those things that you've had going on. That's just one thing we're going to do today.
What else are we doing?
Hey.
I feel like we've already had a whole show.
How's the weather out there? Justin and I went outside and filmed a video earlier.
Oh, yeah, we were outside. It's smoky.
Can you smell it?
So smoky and hazy.
That's from Jay smoking on the back patio.
Oh,
That's
is that what
from.
that was? I thought that was fresh air.
Yeah.
Man, he's got some big lungs. He used to look outside. Hey, Dean.
Yo.
Where's my rain, Dean?
Some people haven't had rain in a very long time. Some people are flooding. What the heck is going on?
1 to 4 inches of rain fell yesterday, late afternoon into the evening in West Fargo down towards Horace.
Well, the airport got nothing.
Nothing. And then we picked up 300s here. Just one lone thunderstorm parked itself over West Fargo. Those are air mass thunderstorms, and we'll see more of those develop today. So, again, there could be some areas of heavy rain, but most areas not going to see a drop. So let's call it isolated storms after 4 o'clock.
Air mass thunderstorm?
Yeah.
What's an air mass?
Go on our website. We've got an article on it.
Hey, look at that. What's our website again? Bridgette was asking earlier.
I did, because I don't go to our website. I work here.
WDAYradionow.com. You can download the app, too.
Yeah, we got a brand new app.
Yeah.
There you go. Sorry, Gabe.
So, air mass thunderstorms develop in the heating of the day. Not a lot of wind to steer these things along, so they billow up and then they just collapse on themselves after they rain themselves out. And boy, when it rains under them, you can get some heavy rain, as was evident yesterday in West Fargo. We'll see a few more of those today with highs in the upper 80s. We're already at 86. Dew point's only at 60, though, today.
Oh, so less humidity.
It's a little less humid right now, but expecting that to creep up just a bit. Winds are light out of the northwest. And tonight, a few evening storms diminishing after sunset, low 60s. And Tuesday, a little bit cooler. Still that smoky haze, though, in the sky with highs around 80. And then as we head into Wednesday, we could see, we will see more sunshine. And winds will switch to the southeast, highs in the low 80s. And then windy, hot weather comes our way for...
I just thought I'd give you the wind sound effects. I'm here to help.
It will
thank you,
never die.
Bridgette. Thank you. Yeah, windy weather Thursday, Friday into Saturday, all the way through the weekend. From Thursday through the weekend, upper 80s to low 90s. So
And it's going to be humid, too, isn't it?
it will be humid.
Of course.
A lot more
if it's
humid
going to be
over the
hot,
weekend.
why wouldn't we add the humidity to it to make it feel
Exactly.
hotter?
You know, you're sitting in air conditioning and you got red face just saying humid.
I know.
That's just how it is.
We ain't built for this kind of heat.
I'm built a lot more like for feed, not speed, and the same thing goes for
Feed,
heat.
not speed.
I don't have a lot of skills, but eating is one of them. Every time I come in the office, I go to
like
the
to
snack
eat.
drawer for Oreos, and Dean's like, "What What are you doing? I'm like, I'm just having an
By the
Oreo.
way, the snack drawer is getting a little
Low. Want me to
low.
see what I can do for that?
I would appreciate that.
It's good because I'm not going to be in the studio for like a month. So
Holy moly.
it's going to be a lot going on this month. And there is, because once we get back from Baltic, soon after, we're going to be looking at Dakota Fest in Mitchell. There will be Farm Progress Show down in Boone, Iowa.
Oh, Big Iron's coming up
Big
too.
Iron in September. I mean, saddle up, kids.
All
It's farm
sorts
show
of stuff.
season.
Hey, you want to be a part of the conversation today? Feel free to give us a call on the Red Wing Shoe line. That's 701-293-9000. Again, 701-293-9000. Or emails, weather or egg, at flagfamily.com. We're going to head over to the Red Wing Shoe line right now. We got Sherry on line 1. Sherry, thanks for listening and calling. What's your question or comment?
I just, you guys talk about farm safety a lot, and right now I think with people growing so much corn, I have found like people come flying around curves and there's corn on both sides and they can't see, or down graveled roads. I just would be nice if you guys could put the word out that people need to be a little more careful, because you go around curves, you can't see the people that are on the other side of the cornfield coming around that curve.
And Sherry, you are so right. As we've seen our corn crop get taller, and right now it's all pushing 6, 7, 8 feet tall. If you get to an intersection, especially
Correct.
on gravel or county roads, you have to stop and creep out to try to make sure there's nobody coming to cross or make a turn. It is something that I would encourage the same thing. Let's slow down. Let's be careful. That's going to be this way through harvest. And we got a long way to go because we're not going to be combining that corn until into October. So that's a great point. Thank you, Sherry. And also to help us reiterate that, we will have our friend Angie Johnson from NDSU Farm and Ranch Safety coming on in a couple of weeks in August, and we'll have to make sure Angie talks about that too. So
I
thank
love
you,
it when
Sherry.
Angie joins us. She
Angie-
is a wealth of knowledge,
she's
and it's
great.
always entertaining as well.
Absolutely. We like folks like that, including our current guest, Chris Sherman, who's in studio. So when we return after the news break, we will have a visit with Chris. He's got great things for us to talk about, including what is crowd strike? Because I don't know. So we'll find out. Be right back. Oh, welcome back. Well, that's the sound of we don't know where Dean is today. He'll be back.
Dean's gone.
He's usually out in the hallway somewhere.
Again.
Thank you to a couple of our sponsors today, and that would include Ellingson Drainage. They haven't had to put quite as much effort in right now because, let's face it, drain tile has been sort of quiet as we've had a lot of our moisture has been decreasing over the last 10 days. And I think that the drain tile pumps have done a nice job in advance of making sure things are taken care of in the field. And Ellingson not just works in field drainage. If you need them doing things around your farmyard or other construction projects, they can help. Dairyland Seed, they're the folks that put that great looking corn in our field for our Here We Grow project. And just like Sherry mentioned, slow down around those cornfields. Even ours is going to block some traffic because we're right along Clay County 26. And when you get to the cross streets, you're going to want to slow down, take a real good look before you pull out. A lot of traffic over in that region.
Good advice.
Very good advice. So also coming with good advice today is our guest, and that is Chris Sherman. He is with Tech Support Farm. And I'm so glad you have that logo on your shirt, Chris, because otherwise I'm just like, Chris Sherman, he's a genius. That's how I would introduce you. So thanks for giving me your real company name.
Absolutely.
Okay. Tell us a little bit about Tech Support Farm first, and then we're going to talk about this CrowdStrike thing that I don't know what it is.
Okay.
Okay.
Tech Support Farm is what is known as an MSSP, or a managed software and security provider. And so we take care of all the IT and technical needs on a farm. That means computers, networks, printers, any sort of connectivity issues, that sort of thing. And then we also deal with the cybersecurity side of farming as well.
There's way more cybersecurity than one might think in farming, by the way.
Yes. Yes.
By
yes.
far.
So we'll get to some of that. But the first question, and I'm so glad you came with this, and I think we should start with it. Everything that happened last week with downed airlines, people couldn't work at their offices.
People couldn't get into the refrigerators.
Oh, I missed that part.
What? Yeah, some people's refrigerators shut down because they have the screens on the front of the door, and
couldn't get in.
They blue screened.
Yep.
You know what?
Oh, man.
Boy, it's really great that I have that 1964 Westinghouse in my mudroom. I mean, the power dips when that thing cools, but still, it's great. So what happened, Chris? And what is CrowdStrike? And what's all going on there that maybe should or shouldn't have happened?
So in cybersecurity, we used to have just antivirus, right? And it was that program that we all downloaded, and we just ran scans and hoped it worked. But really now we have things that are called managed detection and response and endpoint detection and response. And there are two types of software. One acts as like a security camera, and it's monitoring and recording what's happening on your system, and it's looking for it's looking for those red flags. At the same time, there's another one called endpoint detection and response, and that one is kind of the managed detection and response is the security guard, and it's actually managed by human beings, and they watch the network, and they watch what's happening, and their job is to spot cybersecurity breaches before they actually happen. And so in this scenario, CrowdStrike is operating as both MDR and EDR. And they had an update, and that update went through, and it crashed the program. But the problem is that operating systems have two layers, right? They have the user layer, and then they also have what's known as the kernel layer. And the kernel, the best way to think about it is like a castle, right? You have the villagers on the outside of the castle walls, and then you have, everybody important is on the inside of the walls.
Oh, we're outside. Chris is inside.
Absolutely. And so basically what happened in this scenario is that CrowdStrike operates on the kernel layer. It operates on the inside. And because CrowdStrike had an update, it crashed not only CrowdStrike, but it crashed the operating system as well. And all operating systems are designed that if something goes wrong, it shuts the entire system down so that it prevents any further damage from actually happening.
So this wasn't a, per se, cyber attack.
No, not at all.
Okay.
This was actually just a corrupted update that went through, and it was not tested. And normally, we wouldn't see this happening, except for the fact that it's not normal for programs and software to be on that inside layer. But because it is security and because of the way it was structured, CrowdStrike is a program that sits on the inside and actually manages the operating system. What further complicated this is the fact that normally when something like this crashes, whether it's a driver or something, a device on your printer goes down, it will just shut that device off, right? But because CrowdStrike is actually known as as a security program, the entire system wouldn't run without it.
What do you think the feeling was of the person who hit the send button and then watched the complaint file or box just start skyrocketing?
I know,
like,
I can't tell if Chris is smiling or just like, oh God, don't ask.
I saw an interview with the CEO,
Oh?
and I felt really, really bad for him.
Oh.
I mean, it was bad.
You basically, to a point, shut down a whole country.
Yeah.
More
Yes.
than one.
100%.
Well, yeah, several, because, I mean, everything from airlines to, as we were talking, people's refrigerators apparently were blue screening.
And what further complicates this is the fact that this is not something that we can just go in and be like, roll back an update.
Right.
Right? Now it's like your security system shut the entire thing down, and now you physically have to have a person in front of that machine that goes in and manually corrects the problem. So we're talking millions and millions of devices out there that physically have to be fixed.
Now, with this being caused by an update, does this give any inroads for hackers? Like, hey, we could get in this way, or we could do it this way.
Absolutely.
It
Oh,
does.
good.
Yes.
Okay.
Wow. I mean, and I guess I have not really read into it and explored that, but absolutely.
Wow.
100%.
So next question, and this was from, as you were coming in today, we had a farmer on his way out, and he said, did this cause a shutdown with any of the like RTK systems, so guidance systems in tractors and other farm equipment? Would they interact? Would that have been a concern?
That would have been a concern to a certain point, but I have not heard of any major issues.
I think probably the bigger concern was not that shut the farm equipment down, but if you were standing around at perhaps your local equipment dealer, and you were there for parts, and their parts inventory system went down, was probably the bigger problem.
Correct.
Okay.
Were there other implications to agriculture because of this, say, outside of equipment or parts? Were there other operations that were heavily affected by this in a similar way, maybe like the airlines were, where they couldn't move people?
Food processors,
like nothing could happen?
Food processors, bin sites, probes on trucks, or probes at the truck stops in the grain elevators.
And the problem is that the airlines and your emergency services and those kinds of things, they really took precedence in the news cycle, and so we haven't really seen or heard of what's actually been happening yet.
Your food, not a big deal, but get on a plane, people. Get on a plane.
If you got locked out of your beer fridge, I don't know what to tell you.
You break it.
You break it.
break
That's
it.
right.
And you buy a new one.
That's why I have that old Westinghouse.
Yeah.
Don't lock up.
Doesn't.
Unless you open the door twice and shut it, then it might lock up
Actually,
on you.
the bigger concern is, did somebody shut that door? So, okay. It is 1:30 in the afternoon. We're at the bottom of the hour. We've got some news to catch up on, but let's not lose sight of the fact that we have a great guest in studio today, Chris Sherman. He is with Tech Support Farm. For those of you who have questions, please make sure to give us a call on the Red Wing Shoe line, 701-293-9000. We have some other topics to cover, and we'll be back to do those right after this. Welcome back. Weather and Ag in Focus here on WDAY. And one of those weather questions from a listener, Thomas, wanted to know, gentlemen, does all the smoke in the atmosphere affect the weather at all, specifically the formation of thunderstorms?
The formation, not really. The only thing it could do, and chime in here if you want, Justin, is we reach what's called a convective temperature to initiate thunderstorm development. If the smoke is thick enough, it could inhibit us getting to that convective temperature. But in terms of, was the question exactly, the formation of thunderstorms, it can, but it's pretty difficult. I mean, do you agree, Justin? It can have some limiting effects. My concern was once a thunderstorm's developed, depending on where the smoke is in the atmosphere, it could drag down some of that to the surface when it starts to rain.
It can drag it down to the surface, and within that smoke, there are little particles referred to as aerosols or microscopic particles that water droplets will actually attach themselves to. So you could, in theory, have more of those particulates that could form clouds, but at the same exact time, within those particulates, you have these hydrostatic and hydrophobic different types of aerosols. Basically, one attracts water, one does not. So you can get additional cloud development. You can also get cloud reduction from said aerosols. To go on a little bit more of a big smarty talk.
Man, I'd say.
Yeah, there you go.
That's why we're weather and ag. And now we go back to ag because we have with us again, our guest today is Chris Sherman, Tech Support Farm. And Chris, one of the things that recently happened back in June was the Ag Tech Week here in Fargo. And there was stuff going on everywhere. I mean, I couldn't even get to it all as hard as I tried. But you had some comments based on that week and what happened and what you learned. And I'd love for you to share those with our audience.
Absolutely. The last time that we talked, we had discussed the idea of ransomware attacks inside of ag.
Yes.
Right. And, like the co-op that was held hostage and
more than one. There's several.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yes. But the other things that we're starting to see is, the warfare side, right? The geopolitical side of cybersecurity and cyber threats. And, one thing that we talked about was over in Ukraine, where, I think it was 2022, and they were starting their first round of planting, and they got into the seeders, and they were messing with the software in the background, and were pushing the seeds down too far.
Right.
Hackers were.
The hackers were.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what that means to maybe the non-farming crowd is on a planter, you do have that much technology, and it sets your seeding depths. When you push the seed further down below soil surface, it takes that much more time and effort and resources to push your seed out through up through the soil surface to start growing. When you do that, it sets your crop back. Like here, where we have a limited growing season, that delays your crop. You may not get it to maturity in time. Thus, you suffer less yield, less food to feed your people.
Correct. So they could do that on the fly, or is this a predetermined thing that happens before the fact? Or could it be that you're just out there planting and then bang, you're 10% in, and now you're planting 2 inches deep instead of 1 inch or 3 or whatever it happens to be?
They're messing with the calibration, and so therefore, it was planned and it was happening, across, that area.
Yeah. So that planter could have been in the field, and that could have been happening while the planter was in the field on the go.
Oh, absolutely.
Yes.
Wow, that's crazy. So you think of cybersecurity and cyber attacks and whether or not it's in a war reference or not, you don't really think about it being that impactful in an agriculture stance because, who would have thought about that? I never
But think
thought
about this.
it.
If your food is gone.
What do you mean?
Well, yeah, that's
that's
something you just don't think about. Like, the ag gets cyber attacked, and then there's no food production, or food's not moving through the processing plants, or the milk's not getting pasteurized because the systems are down.
Robots shut off, and you can't get them restarted to milk
There's
dairy
no more
cows.
packing stuff.
Your irrigation on fruit and vegetable crops. So there go your strawberries, your lettuce, food processing. So as we were talking about, Chris, grain dryers. They can, if your temperature is adjusted adversely, you can burn up a crop or it never dries, and you're going to run out of propane. The things that we do that are automated, you still have those folks that are like, I hate this. We should still be living like Andy Griffith. But the reality is we live like this today.
Yeah.
And with all this automation, our technology can fail us.
Absolutely. absolutely. And it's, it goes back to like hundreds and hundreds of years ago. If you're at war, one way to mess with, your enemy psychologically and physically is to burn up their crop.
Yes.
Right? In the field.
Yeah.
Slaughter all their animals, whatever. But the concept here is that we can do this remotely and we can do it, from thousands of miles away.
So how do you protect yourself? And I guess in whole, how do we protect ourselves from that happening?
And see, and that's where we're also seeing where it's not only an act of warfare on the part of other countries, but at the same time we're also seeing where they're trying to weaken our faith in our system, right? You go to the store and you just automatically depend that your food is going to be safe, to consume, and yet when we see attackers that are going behind the scenes and messing with, tampering with the calibration of, like you said, in the dairy industry, we're questioning in the back of our mind, is the milk really pasteurized or not? Did it really meet, that temp threshold? And so, what we have to do is we have to continuously be double checking and making sure that, that our machines are working properly and doing what they're supposed to be doing. But to a certain degree, I mean, look at CrowdStrike. Unfortunately, this was something that, it was a routine update and they sent it through and it had some pretty powerful implications.
Yeah. Folks did not necessarily see coming.
Correct.
But then it also can be turned to, well, first of all, other notes that you have from that conference. If not, I was going to ask about financial benefits or scams, et cetera.
Yeah. And unfortunately, financial is not, limited to ag. It is, we had a customer call us at 7:00 in the morning on a Saturday and telling us that, a very large banking institution had called him and said that that someone had opened a credit card in his name, and he said he hadn't done it. And within a little bit, he had accidentally handed over all of his information and had to quickly call the bank and shut everything down. And that's not limited to ag, right?
Right.
The problem is that as small business owners, as within the farming community, farms tend to carry a little more cash than the average individual. And yes, they cyber criminals typically prey on older individuals and are senior members of our community. But at the same time, ag is one of those where we are fast paced and we have things to do. And we aren't always paying attention.
But also, we are running multi-million-dollar operations without thinking about that. And the whole fact of, well, who would want to look at my information?
Yeah.
What would they get from me?
Yes.
And you fail to realize how much they could.
Absolutely.
A listener, our friend Sarah, she said, as we're talking about some of this warfare, World War II, Hitler dropped potato beetles on fields in Europe to limit the food supply.
100%.
So it was happening back then. And there was a first detector training, and I remember when this was going on in the mid-2000s, soybean rust was set to come from other countries, especially from South America, and potentially could have wiped out our entire soybean crop because it would overwinter on a plant called kudzu in the southern United States. So things like that happen.
Yeah.
Bird flu.
Not a lot of people think about that, though.
But it's here.
Yeah.
It's absolutely here. Spoofing, phishing. I had one last week from, actually, it's one of the companies I'll be working with this coming week at the Ag PhD Field Day in Baltic. An email came from one of the people I've been working with. The email address looked correct. I actually sent it back. I forwarded it back to her and said, is this from you? Because there was a click on this link, the deal. She's like, nope, didn't come from me.
Yeah.
So and I know to look. And it was still there.
That's even outside of things like that. I mean, I got a text message the other day, and
Yeah.
this one was actually, I was like, man, they're getting a little
They're getting
smarter
good.
at this. It's a good thing I'm still smarter, though. But it was, USPS, United States Postal Service. We have one of your packages in our processing facility. It's stuck on hold for whatever reason. Verify that this is your address by clicking this link.
Yeah.
And it's not the United States Postal
No.
Service because they will not text or email you.
No. And we'll leave the post office jokes alone as well.
They're holding some of my packages.
They got some stuff.
And the reality is, because of what we do on a daily basis, I don't care what industry you're in, but I'll emphasize farming, you're busy.
Yeah.
You look at those things, you think it looks legitimate, you click, you move on, but then you get the call at 7:00 in the morning from a major banking institution saying, we have a problem.
And, even with the email, now it's gotten even more complicated. There's this new thing called, well, it's not necessarily new, but it's called DMARC compliance. And it was put together by Google and Microsoft, and now it's being enforced in order to prevent spoofing and phishing. But in order to get it set up and in order to be compliant, I mean, it's a complicated process. And unfortunately, it's one more thing that we have to do in order to protect ourselves.
Right. Chris, could you tell us how phishing, ransomware attacks on facilities, how would that affect either a small or larger sized ag corporation or even just a farmer in general?
I mean, if you think about it from the standpoint of, you have an operation, a multi-generational operation, and, dad gets an email and it looks like it's from his son and, telling him to, make a bank transfer.
Oh, goodness.
It happens all the time. And we hear about it all the time.
Right.
And, I mean, whether it's sales calls or whatever, and we hear all the stories from, neighbors and stuff like that. We're talking 50,000, a couple 100,000, and, it happens all the time. From the standpoint of, an automated operation, if you think of, the increasing automation and robotics that we have inside of our systems, they can be shut down and people can get locked out just like your beer fridge. We have electronic gates. We have, that turning things on and off. We have all of our mechanisms that we try to automate. We don't ever think about the backside of it, of the risk of it not working.
Right. And what is ransomware? A lot of people hear the word ransomware, but they have really no idea what it is.
Ransomware is essentially a software that will get either downloaded onto your system or is put onto your system via, clicking on a link inside of a PDF or an email or something. And that software will actually lock up your operating system and completely lock you out of it, and therefore holding your system ransom.
Okay.
And Chris, what exactly can you do for farmers, and why should they get a hold of you?
So since cybersecurity has become a lot more advanced, what we can do is we provide the full suite of cybersecurity tools, and we can protect and ensure that, warranty that they will not be hacked and taken over.
Okay.
So, but additionally, at the same time, too, we also provide IT services. So customers will call us and tell us, our systems, are not working properly. We don't have internet. We don't have, whatever the case may be. We provide the support for the structure that, that any application lives on.
Okay. Right. And anything you want to talk about here as we run out of time that we haven't had a chance to get to yet? Anything you want to specifically mention or things coming up with tech support?
We do have a conference down in Omaha next month, and we will be attending that. It's being put on by the Omaha FBI field office, and we are going to be specifically talking about cybersecurity, and there is going to be a kind of like a discussion panel on that. And hopefully next month, I've got a lot more things to talk to you guys about and more information to share.
We don't run out of things to talk about with you, Chris.
Absolutely.
And I really, really hope every time the shy listeners don't call in, but they get a hold of you afterwards.
Yep.
That would be awesome.
Yes.
Because I feel like before you leave today, I should hand you my laptop and say, just make this better.
Yep.
And then make it idiot proof for me.
The one thing I would say is that, in relation to this CrowdStrike issue, we do not use CrowdStrike. However, if there are listeners that are finding themselves on hold and looking, waiting for somebody to come and fix their stuff, we are definitely able to do that. And feel free to reach out. We'd love to help you out.
Right. And Chris, if someone wants to reach out on behalf of that, or they just want to get more information on whether it's tech support, cybersecurity, anything like that, where would you direct them to go to find that information? If
they go to techsupport.farm, or they can call us at 701-446-8518.
Right. And what was that website one more time?
techsupport.farm.
Awesome.
Yep.
Well, Chris from Tech Support Farms, thanks for coming on here and talking with us. Appreciate it. We'll be looking forward to our next conversation. And like Bridgette said, in all honesty, we could probably go a whole nother hour or two with you.
I know.
Oh, for sure. Thank you guys for having me.
Thanks.
No
problem.
Chris, thank you. We're looking forward to talking to you again soon.
All right. Well, we got to catch with something here. When we come back, yeah, how's that for an outro? Wow. When we come back, we get another check on your forecast. We got a few more things to talk about, including bird flu. human cases. What's going on with the transmission in that? And also, teens train others about tornadoes. All that and more on the way. And we are less than an hour away from Dean falling several thousand feet out of an airplane. If you want to watch, just, well, you might not be able to with all the smoke and haze up in the sky. We'll be running down that forecast coming up here in just a moment, but we got a few moments left if you want to be a part of our conversation. Oh, sorry, I hit the wrong button.
So you're saying that noise is Dean falling from the sky, but we're not going to see him until right before impact.
Right before the
because of
impact.
the smoke. Okay.
Hey, Dean, what's the...
You know, you guys are just rotten,
Wait,
man.
let's check this out.
Like you've never done this to us.
I know you never jumped out of a plane before.
No, but there's plenty of other things I've done.
Hey, Dean, do you know what the terminal velocity of a human is?
With or without a parachute?
Terminal.
No, without terminal.
Terminal.
Terminal velocity, maximum.
I'm not sure. Why don't you tell me?
It's about 110 to 137 miles per hour.
I was going to say 0 because that's when you hit the ground.
About
You stop.
about Bridgette's speed down the interstate.
The
then
Earth's about to smack you like a mosquito.
you guys are idiots. I'm out of here.
Don't you love us?
I'm out of here.
You can't just dip out.
However fast you fly out of the sky is how fast I will drive to South Dakota tomorrow.
Man.
You're going to move. Just, you know what would help? Aim for a hay bale. Think of that as a soft landing. I mean, not really.
If
but
something
there you
does
go.
happen, you know how bad you guys are going to feel
Well,
tomorrow?
I'm going to feel awful, but I mean, the opportunity's here. I have to take it.
Okay.
I'll eat Oreos in your honor because I do every day.
I'll pour a drink out like all the rest of the fallen homies.
Oh, another North Dakota Sweet Crude, because that's one of the guys that would step up for us
You know, I crack a beer and then I pour a little out for the fallen homies in my life.
every day.
Well, most of the time.
Yeah, no, every day. Yes, he does every day.
He hesitated.
We're not looking for
hesitated.
2 job openings here, just one. Like I said, we haven't lost our jobs yet this week.
You're working on it, though.
Tom, maybe you can help us out. Welcome to the program. What's going on?
Yeah, just a real quick note on that with the smoke and the thunderstorms. Right after the thunderstorms went through West Fargo yesterday, it got really smoky for just a little while.
Yeah.
And I thought the same thing. It pulled the smoke down, and then about 45 minutes later, it cleared up. But it got really smoky for a while.
Mm-hmm.
So I just thought I'd bring that up.
No, that would make. Are you the same person that emailed Tom?
No.
Oh, okay, different Tom. Okay, yeah, because and you could get actually almost the same thing if you get a downdraft out of that thunderstorm. That could pull some of the smoke down as well.
Yes.
So, yeah, but those thunderstorms once they collapse,
Appreciate it, Tom.
yeah, when they start collapsing, they'll drag down some of that smoke as well.
Yeah. It's interesting, all those little features in the atmosphere and storms that you don't see until there's something there that gets tagged along with it, like air way up there in the smoke being forced all the way down here on the backside of a storm, or when
Right.
one collapses. Or have you ever experienced a heat burst before?
Oh yeah. Oh,
I have yet to experience one, but I've
Very-
heard the stories.
Very interesting. A lot, and the ones I've experienced were at night.
Yeah, it's usually at
yeah.
evening or night
Yeah.
is when you get those heat
Yeah,
bursts. And
these-
Bridgette's about to ask the best question of all.
burst?
What's a heat burst?
I thought that was just when the radiator hose pops up.
That's
on
when
your
you
car.
it's that feeling you get right after that first and second shot of Rumplemintz.
Oh, that's actually called menopause. I mean, I'm not there yet, but I'm guessing.
That's great.
There's another clip.
Oh man.
Hey, Justin, there's another clip.
What was that?
There's
155.30.
155.30.
I'm
We'll go
funny.
back and
Another
listen
Bridgette
to
clip.
it. I think
I'm
there's a
funny,
couple
but not
D in there.
repeatable. Goodness. There's a party. Here's Bridget in her blender. Glad she could make it.
All right, where all of our jobs are open at this point.
Well,
so
I got Bill sitting in for me on Friday. Lord only knows.
you see, you're training in your replacement.
I am. He's fabulous. And he said, so I'm bottom of the barrel. I said, no, you were at the top of my very short list of people who I will allow to do this. There's only like 3 others.
You see, someone asked if I was going to get a fill-in host on a day I was going to be gone. I was like, no. I'm not going to show you that someone else can do this job better than me. No way.
Okay.
Get out of town.
Goodness. Okay,
Oh,
so
man.
we are going to see people all over the place this week. Again, being down in South Dakota on Thursday. But for those who aren't going to be there, we have lots of guests. We'll be putting stuff on social media. I am hosting a social media meetup Wednesday night at the Crooked Pint in Sioux Falls at 7. So if anybody wants to swing by the Crooked Pint, buy yourself a beer and say hi to me, that's fine. I'm not running a tab, kids.
Nice.
Well, man, now I got to make other plans.
Nobody gave me an expense report for
No?
this. No.
Just charge it back to Steve here.
No, I'm not that guy.
No?
No, not
I'll
gonna
do
do that.
I'll do it.
Fine.
I'll do it.
Dean is that guy.
I will do it.
We should have a great crowd down there. I'm looking forward to visiting with a lot of people.
Yeah, should be fun.
All right. Weather's going to be fine. Our corn's growing great
We could use a little rain in some areas.
in some areas. But let's
I could
face
use
it.
another half-inch in Forks.
Well, okay, so you're talking about your grass, but if I look at our corn, our subsoil moisture is excellent. So I feel really good about that.
and to attest to that,
Yes?
this is the first year ever to this point in time that I have only needed to water my garden once, and I probably could have gotten away without watering it at all.
Fair enough. We have watered twice right now because just didn't really need to prior to this.
Yeah, usually my the squash and the cucumber leaves, they're droopy every evening, and they need to get a good water. They have not drooped one time this year.
Yeah, selfishly, I just need rain right now to refill my rain barrels.
There you go. Selfishly, I don't want to water my yard because those top few inches are a little dry, and there are a few spots where it gets a little crusty
It can.
where it sits in sun all day long.
Speaking of all that moisture, that's going to kind of reflect back on our guest tomorrow a little bit. We're going to have with us David Winan. He's with the Minnesota Department of Ag. He's the Secure Food Supply Coordinator. We want to talk about biosecurity on dairy farms, but also all that water that went through Minnesota back in late May, early June. What happened? How's it going since? We'll find out.
Indeed. Dean,
Hope to see you tomorrow.
best of luck, buddy. We're maybe back tomorrow, 1 to 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Everyone have a great rest of your day and be listening for that screaming frog.